In today's guide, you're going to learn the 10 worst mistakes low elo players make that you must avoid if you want to rank up. My name's Hex, I'm a multi-season challenger player who's been teaching League of Legends here at Skillcapped for over 10 years. And if there is one thing I've learned in that time, it's that being good at League does not require you to master every single detail of the game or have crazy good mechanics. You can see big rank gains just by fixing a few key mistakes you likely don't even know you're making. My promise to you is if you just focus on fixing one or two of the mistakes in this guide, that you will see significant results. How can I be so confident? Well, taking low ranked players and getting them results fast is kind of our whole thing here at Skillcapped. Take our 5 brand new courses that teach you the secrets to carrying as a top laner, jungler, mid laner, AD carry, and support. Then pair that with our other new courses on how to counter OP top laners, OP mid laners, master your jungle clears, or check out our new Bronze to Diamond series. It doesn't stop there. We have new Season 14 courses on macro, wave control, trading, settings and hotkeys, CSing, vision, mechanics, low elo mistakes, the list goes on. Then head on over to our Smurf commentaries, select your champion to watch live commentaries from challenger experts teaching you how to carry out of the exact rank you're stuck in. You can try all of this out completely risk-free, since if you don't rank up while actively using Skillcapped, you'll get your money back, no questions asked. You can unlock all of this through the discount you can only get from the link below. So, what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below to get the rank you've always wanted. Alright, now our first low elo mistake you want to avoid is playing way too safe. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't mean you should just be going stupidly aggressive, forcing fights all the time. What I'm talking about is when it's clear you have some sort of advantage, but instead of choosing to look for a fight, you choose to use that strength as a way to play safe. For example, here's a low elo Gnar facing a Darius. At level 1, Gnar has a massive advantage over Darius since he has access to ranged auto attacks. And yet, you'll see that at first, this lane is completely backwards. Darius is the one trying to go aggressive, while Gnar is running for his life. It's not until he gets under his own tower does he turn on the aggression, and you can start to see just how powerful having the ranged advantage at level 1 can be. Shortly after, again, Darius is running at Gnar, and instead of landing an auto attack and kiting, he's just immediately running away. You can see him spike level 2 over Darius and is literally still running away as he does this. I know, Darius can be scary, but here's why playing passive when you're stronger doesn't work out in the long run. So now Darius is level 2, and he's basically taken no damage. A lot of matchups in League actually play out exactly like this, where if you don't generate a lead early on when you're stronger, then the lane can become incredibly difficult once the enemy hits one of their power spikes. This is why, if you watch the same matchup in Challenger, it will look completely different. Gnar will aggressively punish Darius at level 1 whenever they try to walk up to last hit. When they spike level 2 over the enemy, they're hyper aggressive, zoning the opponent. And if Darius gets too close, they again look to aggressively punish with their range advantage. Spike level 3 in Mega Gnar form, that's a big advantage, and so we look to actually be the one to engage, not play passive. And yeah, suddenly Darius isn't looking so scary. Another huge mistake low elo players make in lane is not understanding how important rebounds are. For example, when Darius crashes this big wave into the tower, notice how the enemy wave gets caught on it. This causes Darius's next wave to meet much closer to Yorick's tower, which means Yorick's wave is now damaging the wave much sooner. All of this has the side effect of causing the wave to push away from Yorick. So if we go back, when you shove a wave into a tower and see a wave get stuck on it like this, you know it's going to rebound and push back towards you. There are 2 very important tactics you need to be using with rebounds. First, if you're stronger than the enemy, you stay in lane and avoid damaging the minions except to last hit. This is because the wave will continue to push towards you, forcing the enemy to overextend to last hit, which will set up easy kills. The second tactic is if you're even or behind. You need to be using this as your recall timing. This lets you purchase items and heal, getting you a big stat advantage. And often, you'll get back to lane before the enemy is able to push the wave into your tower, resulting in the enemy having to once again overextend to last hit, setting up easy kills. So let's see what this low elo Darius does with his rebound. Not only does he not recall, but then just when you think he's trying to use the rebound to set up an all-in, forcing Yorick to overextend, he just starts damaging the wave, breaking the rebound and stopping it from pushing back towards him. And yeah, now he's just pushed up with no health or mana and his lane is over. So what should have Darius done with this rebound? Definitely recall. Why recall? Because Yorick has teleport, which is our next mistake to avoid. Yorick made a really common low elo mistake and took a huge unnecessary risk not teleporting back to lane after he clears this wave under his tower. Let me explain. A huge misconception about teleport is that it's used to pressure the map. It's not used for that at all until it upgrades at 10 minutes. Teleport is actually used to win lane. For example, here's a low elo Xerath facing a Lissandra. He does a great job throughout the lane landing poke on Lissandra, causing her to have to use all of her potions. Now, at this moment, after Xerath finishes clearing the wave, what if I told you he's actually hard winning? This is because Xerath took teleport while Lissandra took ignite. All Xerath has to do is recall and teleport back to lane, and Lissandra is completely screwed. Xerath will have a health, mana, item, and potion advantage. This is exactly how you're supposed to be using teleport in lane. Instead, Xerath doesn't realize this, and so immediately gets punished, dying to the ignite, not realizing he actually had a lane winning position with his teleport advantage. This next mistake absolutely plagues low elo. You really need to stop fighting over every objective. Let me explain why. Here, a low elo Hecarim is finishing up his Krugs. Now, let's take a look at the map. His Darius isn't in lane, his mid is being pushed in, and he has camps spawning on the bottom side of the map. And yet, he's still going to try and go for these Void Grubs. Bel'Veth comes to contest along with Yorick, and Hecarim barely escapes. This isn't the true mistake though. Let's take a look at Darius. He absolutely has his mindset on taking this fight, even though his jungler just used ult and is low in health. Even worse, if we take a look top, he didn't even push a wave to set up this roam. So he's now losing a ton of golden experience from minions. And so, not only does Darius predictably lose this fight, but now Hecarim is back to feed a second kill. If we skip ahead a little bit later, we see Rift Herald spawn, and again, Hecarim is refusing to give up this objective and instead forcing a losing fight. It is so common for low elo players to constantly overvalue these early objectives. In terms of golden experience, slaying 3 Void Grubs is equivalent to around 1.5 times a regular camp. That's extremely low. And the tower damage buff it gives is only minorly helpful if you're already winning. Rift Herald, on the other hand, is worth only around 2 regular camps in golden XP, and if you use it to take an outer tower, that's only worth 300 gold to you. And don't get me started on dragons. They give a pitiful amount of golden XP, and their passive buffs are incredibly underpowered. Like a mountain dragon would give your team 5% bonus armor and magic resist, that is literally, I kid you not, 1 or 2 at the most flat resistances for any squishy champion. All of the dragon's power is in the Dragon Soul, which requires 4 dragons to unlock. You have plenty of time to scale in other ways without having to fight over these objectives. So if we go back, if Hecarim just goes and farms his bot side jungle, he's literally getting more golden XP out of those 3 camps than risking it for these Void Grubs. And if Darius just farmed 2 waves topside, again, that's more than the Void Grubs. Don't feel like you have to fight over these early objectives. They're best used as a win more tactic, where when you're the team that's in the lead, you hope to bait the enemy to make the mistake in fighting you over them. And speaking of fighting when you shouldn't, our next low elo mistake you need to avoid is forcing plays. For example, here Lissandra sees her jungler ganking her lane. Cool, so she goes for the E and Miss Fortune has to flash away. This is great. We just got her flash for very little investment. Just think about how hard this lane is now going to be for Miss Fortune. She has no escape in her kit, she has no flash now, and is against a Lissandra who will have her E up every single wave. She will be forced to give up control of the lane, and Lissandra will be able to either look to set up a kill on future waves or just repeatedly shove her in and roam around the map. But low elo players really struggle with understanding that you can get big leads without having to actually get kills on the opponent. And so they take unnecessary risks, forcing plays that simply aren't worth the reward. This is especially true in low elo, where throughout the game the enemy will make a lot of mistakes that will be easy for you to punish. So there's really no need for you to try and force plays in low elo. And speaking of forcing plays, a big cause of that is that low elo players aren't aware of the following tactic. Here, we're gonna see a pretty normal gank happen. All is going well, and if we pause here, we can see the enemy Yorick is really low in health. Okay, so Shyvana can literally just walk away and Yorick will be set incredibly far behind. This is because he has no teleport. There's a rebound happening, meaning a big wave is in the process of being built up and pushing towards him. So if Yorick recalls, that's a ton of minions he will lose to the tower. By the way, that would still actually be his best choice, but low elo players rarely recall in these spots. They'll often make the mistake to stay and wait to pick up the wave at their tower. When they make that mistake, it lets you do an even more punishing play where you crash the wave, then dive them on that wave. I know tower dives are scary, especially in low elo, but when an enemy is low in health and you have a wave you can push in, you can simply walk up to them, wait till your teammate is in position, and then damage them. Trying to tower dive without a wave rarely ever works, since you immediately take tower aggro, and it's incredibly hard for your teammate to also be close enough to follow up. And that's how you turn a successful gank into a double kill for the enemy. And remember, that wave was pushing away from Ornn, so he's losing an insane amount of farm while he's dead. Meanwhile, Yorick gets to come back to a giant wave for him to farm. The next low elo mistake also has to do with towers, but it's falling for a very common trap. Whenever the minion wave gets to around this location, position where it's slightly in front of the enemy's tower, you need to be incredibly cautious of engaging as a melee champion. If the enemy has any sort of displacement ability, it will make it super easy to just push you into the tower, setting up easy kills. I can't even begin to tell you how often I see players fall for this in low elo. Some champions' main strength in lane actually comes from this one tactic. Like when Skarner was reworked, pulling enemies into his tower would be the majority of his kills. Gragas is another champion who likes to set up this trap to win his lane. But you don't need displacement abilities in your kit to use this. If you're facing a champion who has an ability that will follow you, like Leona, Amumu, Briar, Lee Sin, I mean there's a ton of champions. You can bait them into engaging on you, then you flash under your tower to pull them into it and kill them. And while we're on the topic of towers, another super common low elo mistake players fall for is going for tower plates. For example, here's a low elo Miss Fortune. They push a wave into Lissandra's tower and then recall. Lissandra then responds as she should, pushing the next wave. This sets up her own recall timing. Except she doesn't recall and instead gets baited by tower plates. You have to understand that when your lane opponent recalls, they're coming back not only with full health and mana, but they got to spend their gold, so they'll have a stat advantage. I promise you, this can single-handedly lose you your lane and is why 99% of the time, if the enemy recalls, you should just match it. Otherwise, you'll end up in this Lissandra situation, essentially an unplayable lane. So now she has to take a bad recall timing. Miss Fortune makes the right choice, pushing the wave to deny minions to the tower, but even more importantly is she recognizes that she needs to match her opponent's recall. I know this seems strange to you given that she recalled not too long ago, but Miss Fortune not only has half mana, but is also sitting on 500 gold. That's enough for plenty of item components. If she doesn't recall here, then she'll be the one behind in lane, since Lissandra will now be back with an item and mana advantage. The fact that Miss Fortune knows the concept of matching recalls while Lissandra doesn't is the main reason she was able to win her lane. Alright, now let's get into the two macro mistakes you absolutely must avoid making. Firstly, you have to understand once it's past 20 minutes and Baron has spawned, the name of the game is keeping mid lane pushed. By doing this, it's going to pin at least one enemy down temporarily while they farm the wave. This then gives you a number advantage while you move to an objective. The goal when pushing mid is simply to control the vision around that objective. This way, you can take the objective and just watch your wards to see if the enemy reacts. If they don't react, that's a free objective for you. And if they do react, well, that's a free pick on them while they're face checking into Fog of War. And of course, after that pick, you can always go back to taking the objective anyways. Now, if we go back to our low elo game, we saw them correctly push mid and get control around Dragon. But here's the mistake every low elo player makes. They then completely forget to do this a second time once the next wave arrives. This means without that pressure from the wave mid, the enemy team can always just group as 5 and contest you. And now, all of a sudden, you're just coin flipping a 5v5 at an objective. Even a challenger player would struggle carrying through low elo if they had to constantly 5v5 teamfight, since the outcome can be incredibly random. And this perfectly leads to our last low elo mistake, not threatening Baron. This is the biggest reason why low elo games go so long. For example, here we see the red team get the push advantage on mid, just like we taught you. This is great. And yet, look what they do with this. They rotate towards bot, the opposite side of Baron. You have to understand, pushing mid into then threatening Baron is going to be the main way you're able to win your games. And so, what's the side effect of this mistake? Well, again, with no pressure, it means everyone can easily respond to any fight, and another coin flip 5v5 teamfight breaks out. This is such a huge reason why your low elo games feel so chaotic and random. Just look how much different it is when you push out mid first. This is the exact same game. Zeri pushes mid this time instead. Great, now the enemy is pinned down by that wave. That's a guaranteed number advantage to get control of Baron. And just take a look at how this pushed wave is giving us vision of the entire enemy team. This will make it so much easier for you to then take Baron, since you can be confident you're not about to force a random team fight. Now, to be clear, I'm not saying that every time you push mid, you're just going to be able to take Baron for free. What I am saying is that you want to be fishing for this play over and over. Just keep pushing mid and then rotate to the objective between the waves, and it's only a matter of time before you either get a pick with your number advantage or take the objective for free. This is really the main tool you have to counter those chaotic 5v5 teamfights that are so common in low elo. Now, if you truly want to know how to carry bad teammates and finally escape low elo, then simply take one of our 5 brand new courses that teach you the secrets to carrying as a top laner, jungler, mid laner, AD carry, and support. Then pair that with our new courses on how to counter OP top laners, OP mid laners, master your jungle clears, or check out our new Bronze to Diamond series. It doesn't stop there. We have new Season 14 courses on macro, wave control, trading, settings and hotkeys, CSing, vision, mechanics, low elo mistakes, the list goes on. Then head on over to our Smurf commentaries. Select your champion to watch live commentaries from challenger experts teaching you how to carry out of the exact rank you're stuck in. You can try all of this out completely risk-free, since if you don't rank up while actively using skill cap, you'll get your money back, no questions asked. You can unlock all of this right now through the discount you can only get from the link below. So, what are you waiting waiting for? Click the link in the description below to get the rank you've always wanted. Alright, and that will do it for this one. We here at Skill Capped want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.